Thank you for watching Clearfly Communications training session entitled Creating Your Own Orders. During this course, we will cover how to create voice group orders, local port orders, new number orders, cFax orders, as well as discuss how to disconnect numbers. When creating your own orders, you need to think of it like a pyramid. The very first thing that you always need to create is a voice group order. Without that, the other orders don't have something to reference, so that one needs to be done first. So once you've built the voice group order, then you can go ahead and build the other orders however you would like. My preference, of course, is how it's listed on this slide, and that is voice group order first, new number order second, port orders third, toll-free port orders fourth, and then the cFax orders. So it'll make a little bit more sense when you see that process in the demo portal. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to drag over the Clearfly demo portal. If you've been on any of these training sessions in the past, you've seen the screen. You'll also know that depending on your permission levels, some of you may or may not see all of these. What we're really going to focus on here is going to be the management and support and provisioning section. If you are building the orders, you also need to have access to the sales dashboard or the sales section. And the reason for that is when you're building those orders, you're going to need to reference back to the quote or the proposal that was generated, mainly so you can make sure that the order is built accordingly. So let's go ahead and come into the management dashboard, and we're going to go to a customer, and we're going to pick a customer. Actually, what you would probably end up doing is you're going to come to the projects tab, and we're going to see the open projects. And in this scenario, we're going to pick Dunder Mifflin. They do have a project. Now, of course, you don't need to have a project. So once a quote has been won, somebody in your organization should receive a provisioning email that says, would you like to start the project? And once you selected like to start the project, it is going to ask you, do you want Clearfly to create the orders, or are you going to create the orders? For this scenario, of course, we're creating the orders, or you're going to create the orders. So that needs to really be done first. If somebody has not done that, you can create the orders without the project, but it'll be a little bit more cumbersome. So I strongly encourage you always to create the project. So we're going to make that assumption on this one, and we're going to use Dunder Mifflin, and the project number is P1002. So if we click on the project here, these questions down here wouldn't be relevant, mainly because this one is set up as Clearfly initiating order, but we're going to do it anyway. These are questions that the Clearfly orders department will send you. They're going to need these answered prior to building the project. All right. It's a good idea to kind of think of these questions, though, because you're going to need a lot of the same information when you're building your orders itself. So quantity of new numbers and addresses to be programmed as caller ID for 911 purposes if you have multiple 911 registrations. What do you want the CNAM to be, or the outbound calling name? It can be up to 15 characters, including spaces. You're going to need a copy of the phone bill because you're going to have to look for the BTN number or the account number. I'll kind of go through that. If you don't know that information, or the phone bill that you did receive from the customer does not have that there, we do have a few workarounds, but it is relevant, and it is important to try to get that information to be as exact as possible. and that will prevent any rejections on the port. We're also going to need to know the name and the email address of the person who is currently authorized on the previous phone bill or phone account, because they're going to need to sign a letter of authorization, which allows Clearfly or yourself to port those numbers away. And then the requested port date, you're going to need to know when you're going to want to port that, because when you build that port order, you're going to have to put in a requested port date. Doesn't mean it's going to be guaranteed on that. The losing carrier has the opportunity to accept it or reject it, but you should have an idea of what you want that port date to be. And directory listings, those are something that the Clearfly department will actually help you with. Don't believe at this time you can actually do the directory listings, but the orders and provisioning department can. And then, of course, you're also going to need to know the list of the phone numbers that are going to be porting. All right, so we have the project. And at this point, you're going to, again, just like the previous slide, you're going to want to start with the very basic piece, and that is to create a voice group order. All right. So you're, again, if you didn't see that, I'm coming to the actions button. I'm going to click the actions button. I'm going to create voice group order. All right. It's going to reference back to the project number. Like I said, if you haven't created that project, I would stop at this moment, go and create the project, make sure that it's referenced. Otherwise, that field's going to be blank. But it is always good to keep things organized. So make sure there's a project number there. And then you're going to identify the billing account address, so the service address. All right. If there's multiple service addresses here, they will be listed on the pull-down menu, but it should correlate with the quote itself. So that information should get pulled forward. All right, so that's service address, 100 Main Street, Bozeman. And then we're going to click next. At this point, it's going to ask you for the configuration. The configuration is it going to be a native SIP handoff? Are we going to convert that to those SIP trunks to a PRI or to an analog handoff? In both of those scenarios, most likely you're going to have to also receive an ADTRAN from Clearfly. You can provide your own if you want, but typically we will provide you with the ADTRAN and have it pre-configured, and then we'll help you with that turn up. All right. We're going to go ahead and select SIP native, click next. And this is the part that, as I mentioned, you want to reference back to the quote. So on this one, the quote here is for Dunder Mifflin. It's this quote. Let's just go ahead and open that up. And if we're looking back at the quote, what was sold to the customer was 6 trunks, 20 phone numbers, and a local port order. And there is a cFax 750 and an analog adapter. So we're going to come in here and we're going to put in the concurrent calls or the number of SIP trunks. It's 6. There was no additional 911 registrations listed. And unless you know something different, we're going to go ahead and select 1 site or no additional 911 registrations. DID digits transferred. Most modern PBXs are utilizing 10 digits on the DIDs. If you're ordering service for an older one and that older system is only expecting 3 DID digits, you can go ahead and do that. So the range is from 3 to 10. Like I said, most times nowadays, it's all 10. Unavailable forward. This one is something that oftentimes gets overlooked, and something I want to strongly encourage you to always enter. And what unavailable forward is, if you're unfamiliar with it, it's simply, where do you want the phone calls, or where does the customer want the phone calls to ring to? In the case that the PBX is down, internet's down, or for any other reason why Clearfly cannot reach that PBX. So make sure that you always enter an unavailable forward number. You can always go in there and change it. You can also change it on a per DID number basis if you would like, but have something in there, because it is much better to have a customer call you and say, hey, we're not receiving phone calls at the office, but they're all ringing to my cell phone. It's a much better conversation than a customer calling and saying, hey, we haven't received a phone call for the last 4 hours. And then the next statement they always make is, do you know how much money we've lost? So it's a different scenario. So again, always put in an unavailable forward number. So we're just going to go throw one in there. All right, so we threw in my number, and then you're going to set the default calling name. That's something that you probably need to coordinate with the customer, especially if their name is more than 15 digits. But you're going to want to put something in there. So we're going to go ahead and do Dunder Mifflin. And if it's beyond 15 digits, so we're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it should be more. You will get a warning that'll say cannot be longer than 15 characters. So you can abbreviate it or change it however you would like. So Dunder Mifflin should be okay. And click next. And at this point, it's a review. It's going to show the project number, the billing account number, the service address, what type of configuration, how many SIP trunks we're going to configure. We're not using multi-location trunks because we have a single 911 registration. DID digits transferred are going to be 10, default calling name, and the unavailable forward. All right. If you forgot something or something is wrong, if you noticed that you spelled Dunder Mifflin incorrectly, you can always hit the back button, go back and make that change, and then hit next. And again, it'll be a quick review. Once that is correct, you're going to click Create Orders, and it will tell you the order's been created. All right. Orders being created doesn't mean that it's ready for you. All right. The status is pending. Again, just a kind of a recap. The voice group is going to be VG6. And at this point, you're going to want to hit Submit. All right. So once you've hit Submitted, it's going to be a little refresh. And when you're ready to activate that voice group, all right, VG6, you're going to come back to this order number, and you're going to come and you're going to click Complete. Once you click Complete, that will start the billing automatically. All right. So if you're not ready to start the billing for the customer, do not hit Complete. All right. Like I said, you can come back to that at any point in time. But at this phase, you can come into this voice group and you can go to real-time switch info. You can go ahead and test phone calls, make sure that there's two-way audio, and DTMF digits are being passed. So that voice group is ready for testing. Okay. All right, let's go back to this customer's account. Let's come back into the project itself. So if we go to the customer's account, come to the provisioning tab, and we'll go back to the project. So in here is the first order. All right, that's the voice group order. This is where you will actually come into, again, it's the project, come into this order number, and that's when you're going to activate. All right, let's go back. All right, so we have the voice group ready. Now it is a matter of adding some additional orders. So like I said, my preference is to come into here. We're going to create new orders, new number orders. It's going to ask you which voice group. So if you have multiple voice groups, you're going to make sure that you select the proper one. In this example, we only have one. So we're going to do voice group 6, create order. Again, it's going to reference the project. It's why the project is so important to have. And at this point, we can go ahead and the assignment method is automatic, which is by default. And if Clearfly is creating the new number orders, that is the only option that we at Clearfly have, right? You have some additional options. So what automatic is, just real quick before I move on, is automatic is it's just going to randomly pick you the quantity of phone numbers. You're not going to have a say, or the customer isn't going to have a say. So if the customer is wanting something specific, or you're wanting to get something specific for the customer, you're going to want to come in here and you're going to select manual search, and you're going to click next. It's going to verify that the CNAM is what you had entered when you set up the voice group. You're going to click next. And again, it's a recap, and you're going to click create order. All right. So at this point, there's nothing here other than just a new order number, project reference, voice group reference. And if you would click submit at this point, it's going to give you an error. All right. And the error is going to be, you must first search and select the numbers that you want before submitting. All right. Makes sense. So you're going to come to the number search. And from the number search, you've got some options here. Basic is just searching based on numbers. All right. If you pick advanced, you can search on number patterns. You can use letters, wildcards, a bunch of different things. Most times people are just searching on numbers, so leave it as basic unless somebody wants something really very specific. You can enter the first 6 digits, and then it'll pull up everything, all the numbers that correlate with that. My preference would be to come in and either choose the rate center, the postal code, or the city and the state. All right. Since we know that this address is in Bozeman, we're going to click city and state, and we're going to type in Bozeman and Montana. And the next question is, do you want them sequential, yes or no? Most of you will pick yes. And we can show up to 100 numbers. The default is 50. We're just going to leave it, and we're going to click search. All right. You'll see a little flash on the screen. You can scroll down, and there's a list of all 50 numbers. And if there's numbers available in that rate center, the Bozeman rate center, or whatever rate center you're looking for, it is going to be that quick. All right. At this point, we can come through here, and we can select however many numbers that we want. So you got some options up here. You can select all if you want all 50 numbers or 100 numbers, and then, or you can deselect or unselect all of them. We don't want that one. We're just going to go with these. So we're going to pick maybe those first 10. We're going to scroll to the bottom, and we're going to reserve the numbers. Okay. At this point, what you can do is you can go and take those numbers, and how you would do that is you scroll down to where it says view text. You would click view text, click full copy, and then paste that into an email and send it off to the customer if you would like, and ask them if those numbers are okay. All right. You've got 4 hours. At this point, we've reserved them, so nobody else in the entire world can take those numbers for the next 4 hours. All right. So within that 4 hours, you're going to need to come back in here. You can remove them. Maybe they didn't want the one ending in 0270. So we're going to remove that number. So now we have 10, and the customer said, okay. So at this point, we're going to come down. Everything looks good. And we're going to click submit. All right. So once we submit, you get the little statement on here, and this is a new number order where you can search it for and select your numbers. Okay, so a little recap. I'm going to click submit, and when they're successful, you'll get a successful notice up here. If we come to the voice group, we can see that all of those numbers are now added. All right. The very first one here is what we built the voice group on, or what you built the voice group on. And that's our directory number. Some of you may know it as a BTN number. It's a fully functional number. They can use it. You can use it as a backdoor number. Our only suggestion on that is not to publish that directory number, because in essence, Clearfly owns it. And so that one really you should use for a backdoor number. All right, but all these numbers are here. So let's go back to the provisioning tab into the project. And as we can see, the voice group is still there. It's ready. It's not complete. And the new number order is complete. So let's move on to the next order, and we're going to do that as a port order. So we're going to come in here. We're going to reference the voice group again, VG6, create order. Again, it references the project as well. We're going to click next. Again, it's going to verify the CNAM. Click next. It's just a review, and we're going to create the order. Okay, same scenario as the previous one. We click submit, there's nothing there. So at this point, you know, it's gonna tell you that it's incomplete. So we're gonna need to come down to the number action, click on that, and we're gonna add the numbers. And we need to add that number. So we'll do 406 545 2680, and you can go ahead and as it states down here, you can do a range in like this, 406 555 1250 colon 1275, and that will give that in complete range. All right, but we're just going to do this one for now. Click add. And at this point, it's going to generate a port group order, which is PG3. And since there is red, we know that we can't proceed forward. So if we hit submit here at this point, it'll tell you there needs to be things that are corrected with that port group order. All right, so we're going to close it. We don't want red. All right, so how we fix that is we come into the group actions and we click manage, and everything with a blue we need to fill in. All right, so end user, in this one it's going to be under Mifflin. You can of course type it. Authorized name, this is who is going to receive the letter of authorization. So we're going to go and put Tom Hall. And the BTN number, if you know that by looking at the previous phone bill, then you should enter it. Otherwise, you can just go ahead and try to enter the number that you want to port. In this case, it was 406 545 2680. The account number, again, you should enter that. If you don't know it, you can try the phone number again. Some carriers require a PIN to port away. So you're going to need to verify that with the losing carrier. If you don't have a PIN, these chances are that they don't require it, so you can skip it. And then the address that number is associated with, and most of the time it's going to be the customer's address. So we know that the service address on this account was 100 Main Street. Again, we pulled it from the project and the proposal, so we're going to use that. Or of course, you can enter that address on here. And standardized, just leave it as yes. Not quite sure what that is. So just leave it as yes. It's going to list out who the current provider is, and in this scenario, it's Twilio, and it also lists the phone number, and we're going to click update. All right. If there are any errors with what you entered, you're going to again see red on here. This looks good. So at this point, everything is fine. There's no red. We got the number is correct. And we can come up and hit the submit button. All right. At this point, it's gonna ask you what is the requested port date. And for most of you that have been doing porting for a while, you know the average can be anywhere from 7 to 21 days. In some scenarios, we can do faster, but just keep that in mind when you're submitting the port order. You can submit whatever date that you want, but again, this is a requested date. The losing carrier can reject that date and offer you something else. All right, they're not going to reject it in most cases if it's out a couple weeks. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and pick. Oh, I don't know. We'll pick January 4th, and you can choose the time, whatever is most applicable for you and what you've coordinated with the customer. So we're going to say 7 a.m. And then this is who we need to send the letter of authorization to. So for this one, you can choose based on the proposal, who signed the proposal. You can select yourselves if you guys are currently authorized on the previous carrier's account. All right. If you're not, don't select yourself. All right, because they will reject it, and that's just going to further delay the port. So we're going to say Michael Scott, and we've got his name and we've got his email address, and we're going to submit the order. All right. Then you're going to see a little red header, and it says letter of agency must be signed. Once it's signed, then we can go ahead and complete this. But at this point, we're just going to go ahead and leave it here. Let's go back to the project now. And we can see, again, the voice group is there. New number order is complete. And the local port order has been submitted. If you need to check on the status of that, you can always come in here and take a look at it at this point. All right. Once they have signed the letter of authorization, this will change out for signature to complete, and then the port order itself will eventually show up as requested date processed, and there is a firm order commitment. Okay. All right. So let's go back to the project. All right. Other options we have here. You can order your cFax account, and we know by looking at the quote, there is a cFax 750 and an analog adapter, so we do need to do that. We're going to come in and we're going to order a cFax account. Again, just like before, it's going to reference the project. You can use a new number, or you can use an existing number. We're going to go ahead and do a new number, and we're going to click next. And we're going to utilize the same rate center as the other numbers that we'd ordered. So Bozeman, we're going to select the cFax plan. We know on the proposal was the cFax 750. We're going to click next. Send and receive configuration. This is a cFax configuration question. Email only, so in that case, there's not going to be an ATA. Email and analog adapter, we are going to need an ATA, or maybe the customer only wants to send and receive via the ATA, and of course, that is an option. We're going to go ahead and click email and analog adapter. Click next. And now you're going to add the sender's and receiver's email address. All right. Again, if you don't have that information, we can do that after the fact. But we're going to go ahead and click it. And we're going to throw in an email address. And we're going to say that this email address can receive faxes, but we don't want them to send faxes from that email, or they don't want that. So we're going to say no. And receive any notifications if there's an issue, and we're going to say yes. All right, and you're just going to continue to click add sender and receivers until you've added everybody that you need. And then once you have that set up, you're going to click next. Now it's going to ask you for the ATA information. If when you were in the previous step, if you had only indicated email only, this option is not going to come up. So we're going to say for the ATA, they're going to send only the emails, or the faxes are going to be sent to the email address. So we're going to click send only. And then we're going to enter the notification email if there's an issue with the ATA. And then we're going to select where do we want that ATA to be shipped to. So you can ship a new ATA if you have some in stock that were previously provided to you by Clearfly. You're going to click no. So we're going to do yes. And then we're going to need to know where to ship it. All right. The suggestions will be your company's address or the customer's location. That's up to you guys. I personally would always like to have it in my hands before I roll out to that customer's location. So I would pick my company's address. There's a different address. Of course, you can fill that in as well. And click next. And this is just a recap of the entire cFax order. And we're going to create order. Okay. So at this point, if we click submit, all right, the cFax portion of it has been submitted. We still need a phone number though. So let's see, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to come back into the project. Oh, actually it gave us a new number. My apologies. I just randomly picked a new number. If you're looking for something more specific, you're going to want to create a new number order, find a number, and then you convert it. But in this case, we picked a new number, so it automatically selected one for us. All right. So let's come back into projects. There we hit, again, just a recap, voice group, it's ready, local number orders or new number orders complete, local port order has been submitted, the cFax analog adapter order has been submitted, and the cFax here has also been submitted. All right. Okay. Last one, the last piece that I wanted to cover, actually two more pieces, but the last order I wanted to cover was a toll-free order. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is by coming into the voice group itself. So you can access that voice group a couple different ways. If you're in the project, you can click on the voice group order, come up and click VG6. And you're at the voice group and we can create the order here. Otherwise, if we come back to the project and you actually just go back to the customer's account, you can go to the voice tab, come to the voice group this way. And to create the toll-free order, you're going to click on the orders tab, orders action, create toll-free order. And again, very similar to the previous ones, we're going to click next, transfer existing number, assign a new number. If you're transferring an existing number, then it's going to be a port order, assign a new number. We're going to do that in this scenario. We're going to click create order. And again, just like any of the other orders, prior number orders, you're going to come in here. You can add a specific number, request a new number, and we're going to request a new number, quantity. They're not picky. Select how many new toll-free numbers they want, request number, and it automatically generated. And it's currently 833-200-1100. And it's going to ring to that same number, so it's going to be treated as a DID from your side. Okay. So that's how you create the toll-free order. All right, so the last thing I wanted to show you during this training session was how to remove numbers. All right, so we're at the customer's account. Clearfly can remove those numbers for you, and you can submit a ticket requesting that. But if Clearfly disconnects a number, there will be a $10 charge. If you disconnect the number, there is no charge, so you're going to save the customer a little bit of money there. How you disconnect is you're going to come to the voice group. You're going to find the number that you want to disconnect. And I don't know, we'll just pick, maybe the customer doesn't like all the sixes. So we're going to click on the phone number, come up to the actions button, and we're going to disconnect that number. Okay. While we're looking at this here, if you were going to convert a DID number to a cFax, you could also do it the same way. All right, just simply by clicking Order cFax. All right, then it's going to walk you through that process of which cFax you want. Do you want an ATA? Do you want email address associated with that fax number? So that process is the same as what we'd done earlier. All right. Okay, folks, that is all I have for this. Again, we look at the project itself. It's just a recap of everything, just like we've seen before. If you have any questions or you need some assistance on creating orders, you can always reach out to the Clearfly orders department. They're happy to walk you through that process, or you can contact the sales department and we can help you as well. But the contact information for the orders department is here, and phone number is 866-652-7520, option 3 for orders, option 2 for sales. You can also send an email to the orders department if you need to coordinate a phone call. These are the 3 fabulous people in our orders department, and any of them and all of them can help you with this as well. Ray Van Spore, Sabre Noble, and Kelly Williams. All right, folks. Well, thank you very much for attending. And if you have any questions or need some assistance, feel free to let us know. Thank you very much.